Oh my, so this is one of those off the rails videos. It was supposed to be a bit of a battle of the brands, talking about two different non-Lego brands, right? Some building blocks. And specifically in this video, it's talking about building blocks that you can find in brick and mortar stores rather than having to buy them online. Tariffs are crazy right now, let's not. But these are interesting because you can find these in some fairly popular stores here in the United States that are throughout multiple states. This one here from Dollar Tree and this one here from Five Below. This has actually gone viral a number of times online as well. So it's worth talking about those. But at the end of this video, I also want to show you another item, and I'm going to spoil it here slightly, but you might not know what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet because it was just interesting, and honestly, it seemed too good to be true. Spoiler alert. It works, and I'm shocked given the price. Let's go ahead and get into this. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. It helps out the channel tremendously. I don't consider myself a non-Lego reviewer, but on occasion when I do other things on the channel, sometimes I talk about plants. I even just finished recording a video specifically about some plants. So I'm a little bit biased in this video as to which of these I think is the better deal or which of these is worth buying. But I am going to start with the more recent one because I've actually done a video on this. It has its quirks, but this one right here is one that I picked up today at the Dollar Tree. It is from a brand called Make It Blocks. It's specifically this box right here, although, you know, mirrored, and it is 44 pieces, $1.25, and this is, as we all could tell from looking at it, bird or wasso, I guess. It is an eagle build, but they've had an eagle build from this brand before, so I guess they just called it bird to play it safe. This is worth noting that it comes in a wave of 4 different birds that you can choose from, and it actually seems to be the second wave from this line, so it's kind of like a little sub-theme that this brand seems to be doing, and that's pretty cute, I think. And overall, this is a good desk toy. Now, it is not perfect by any means. Something you'll notice, and one of the reasons I chose to mention these two brands specifically in the store, is that they both have these prints on them, and both those prints talk about either the manufacturer or the distributor of these parts. I don't know which. However, it is worth noting that these are not the same. First off, the actual locations listed there, the businesses, the incorporations listed there are not the same as each other. But also what I find interesting is that these brick qualities are not the same at all. They're kind of night and day. This is not bad by any means, but it is $1.25 and you feel it. It is 44 pieces. All of the parts go together. This is something I think you would build if you want to build and have an experience building blocks, but I wouldn't mix this with your Lego parts necessarily. Some of the parts in terms of color do not match Legos. This whole base, for example, the perch that this bird is sitting on is not a match for any Lego color. That's actually kind of unfortunate because it's like a kind of golden wheat color. It's actually a really lovely color, and it's one I wish Lego had, but they don't. And it is also worth noting, too, the beak and the feet on here. While on first glance, they might look like a color from Lego called Bright Light Orange or called Keat Orange on this channel here, but it is slightly different from that as well, a little bit darker than Lego's version as well. Lego has this piece in that Keat Orange color, so no big loss there, but it would have been nice had that matched Lego's color. However, the other 3 colors used primarily on the set are at least a close enough match. The tail there is ever so slightly off on Lego's tan color, but it's well within reason. Definitely usable. The brown on here is a really nice representation of Lego's reddish brown color. Granted, Lego's reddish brown has also had a lot of variation with time, so it's not necessarily something that I would hold against this for being slightly off, because even Legos are slightly off depending on what year you're looking at. But the white pieces here do look quite nice, and that's actually pretty good too, because those eye prints are phenomenal. They are absolutely wonderful, pristine. They look like they would be Lego quality, no problem, and they're actually a different mold from any that Lego currently has. So if you like getting, I guess, different eye molds, okay, you have an option here. It is $1 for this set. You get 2 of those eyes, and I bought this one specifically because A, it was brought to my attention on my Discord server, link for that in the description, this morning, and B, because these wings from Lego do not come in that brown color. They come in a darker shade of brown. I got very lucky when I bought this set because I got a 3rd wing in it. always good to have more. But that does not seem to be pretty common. I've not seen any others of these to have extra wings, and I've actually bought 2 other sets from this brand in the past as well. Neither of them ever came with extra parts, so I'm happy. I'm not going to complain that this came with not only an extra part, but literally the part that I wanted the set for. The build itself is pretty good. It uses mostly Lego adjacent parts, but there are a couple parts in here that Lego does not make. This 1x1 Mixel socket tile and the accompanying ball joint tile, Lego doesn't make those. Not only not in those colors, but in those sizes. They're a 1x1 plate, but with the Mixel accompaniments attached to them, and that's pretty cool. But it's also worth noting too that the piece that the wings are attached to, this little stud on the side of the build here, is actually a stud grafted onto the side of a 1x1 plate, and there's one of those studs on each side. This is not an uncommon piece from knockoff brands, but Lego has nothing in their catalog like it. And this set actually comes with 5 of those pieces in total, 4 in brown, 1 in white. Remember, these are a good match for Lego's version of those colors, so I would definitely say they're usable. Although personally, I would have loved for that stud to have been hollow. It would have helped this bar on the swing insert into the body a little bit better, and actually would have helped to strengthen this connection to the body. Of course, if you have bootlegs of that piece, you could replace it with bootlegs, but we're talking bootlegs of a non-Lego piece to begin with. You're getting into a bit of the weeds there. That said, though, the wings themselves are good, and I've actually tested the clutch power on them with Lego pieces as well. They do hold, so that is always nice to see. And while the wings don't move themselves, I mean, you can pivot them, I guess, and that's a bit of articulation. You can move the bird forward and back on the perch, as well as move the legs forward and back as well, although this is a little bit hard to do while perched because it tends to pull the body apart a little bit, but usually doesn't break it. The tail, again, is on a ball joint, so of course you can move that. The head does not move. The wings do not flap or fold up, but for 44 parts for $1.25, I can't ask for more than this. This is a good set, but is it better than this right here? Here's the thing. As I mentioned, these kind of went viral for a while online a number of times. I can totally understand why. It does seem like Lego hit a pretty big success with their botanical lines. It's definitely going strong still to this day, and it's actually one of the themes that I often see sold out or with very low numbers in stores. So it is nice to see that you have an alternative and a very affordable one as well. Everything in this video that I'm showing you is less than $5. This is $1.25. This is $3.25. In fact, you could buy both of these sets for less than $5. And it's worth noting too that this brand actually has a succulent line as well. This is the bouquet line from the brand Block Tech, and it is specifically from Five Below. I believe it's exclusive there. But they also have a line called Succulents, and you can find different plants from that. I have no experience with that line yet, but it is the same brand. I expect the same quality from it. So it's pretty cool that while these are 2 different brands, 2 different themes, this brand also does have its own flower theme as well. And in the future, if you'd like for me to, I will pick up one of those sets. I wanted to pick one up today, but unfortunately, literally the one that I was looking for, they did not have. But I can definitely tell they're selling a lot of them as well, because there were only 3 flowers left in total, 1 of each from the wave, the most recent wave, except for the one I wanted. There were 4 in the wave. They only had 3. It was kind of unfortunate. But that said, it's Mother's Day as well. By the way, it's Mother's Day, so I could definitely see things like these selling quite well. But again, $3.25 for this, roughly around 80 pieces or so, but some of these do include more pieces, up and over 100 even, though those tend to be a little bit more tedious builds. I actually own 2 different sets from this brand specifically these flowers here. In this case here, all of the parts seem to match Lego's color. The only one I have not tested yet is this egg here, which might be a close match for a flesh tone from Lego, but I don't have many pieces in a bunch of Lego flesh tones, so I'm not positive that that matches any Lego color. However, everything else here does, including the stem, which is dark tan, and his Technic parts as well. Love to see more Technic in dark tan. These leaflet pieces, which are in standard Lego green. The Technic part, which is a lovely part to have, by the way, in that white color. Lego never made it in that color. They only ever made it silver, and I think it's a retired piece these days, so Lego doesn't even include it anymore. This brand makes that part in a bunch of colors, so lovely to have it available. And then, of course, these little cocoon pieces, Keat Orange there, and in this case, a perfect match for Lego's Keat Orange as well. No miscoloration here. Lastly, toward the center of the flower, you get some yellow parts, standard yellow. All of that, I think, works out excellently. There are some Technic parts in here in some fun colors, including yellow and etc., and plenty of other choices if you don't want the orchid. This is supposed to be an orchid. There's my problem with this set. This is definitely not a flower structure for an orchid plant, but to me, who cares? At the end of the day, this is an ambiguous plant, right? This is something you build to have with the rest of your Lego bouquet or your bouquet of other brands, because I'm not judging by any means. I am a big plant nerd, as you may all know, and so to have something like this, whether or not it matches, you know it's supposed to be a flower, and it's easily one that you could use to fill out your Lego arrangements if you don't want to go and spend $50, but rather want to spend, say, 3 or 6 or 9 or 10 or whatever, right? So ultimately, this is a phenomenal set, and the quality here is night and day. Whereas the Eagle, I think I could pretty much pick out most of those parts from a part pool and understand that these are not Lego. They feel slightly off. This, if I were to see one of these little wedge pieces here in, say, a Bricks and Minifig store in their bulk bin, I'd probably pass it up completely. It feels like, it looks like a Lego piece, and I'm very particular about my attention to detail. I'm often going through those bins and finding pieces like that are not Lego pieces, but are just some that they overlooked. It can be very easy to overlook parts, but this right here is incredibly easy to mix up with Lego, and that's good because this is something I'd feel comfortable mixing with my Lego parts, whereas the Eagle, I'd probably just keep it separate or keep it built. It actually has one small issue with the set. I'll talk about that in a moment. This right here, this set is phenomenal. Before we end the video, and obviously before we talk about the little mystery item there at the end, the one small issue I have with this set, and it's sort of only if you plan on using these parts, this set includes 4 of these hollow studs, and that hole in the center there is where you would expect it to be. But interestingly, the stud itself on that 1x1 round plate is slightly off center, and that is true for all 4 of the hollow stud in this set. Thankfully, in this case here, they're not actually used for the stud themselves, but rather they're used for the bar hole within them. But it's interesting because that misalignment seems to be different on every one. It's not even like it's the same piece being remanufactured. It's just a problem with the mold. But it seems like each of them, the mold is slightly different as well. So it's like they almost messed it up like 4 times. And I don't know how you could possibly do that and not notice. But once again, as I said, you're not going to run into an issue with it here. You're not using the studs on those pieces. You're using the bar holes on those pieces. And so in this regard, you're going to be fine. But it is still fascinating to me that they missed it. So do I recommend these sets? I got lucky with my Eagle coming with 3 of these blade pieces. I have bought one of these sets in the past that was a Lily that came with these sword pieces. The reason I bought it was for these sword pieces because they came in a color Lego didn't have. They never made this sword pink, but this isn't even pink. It's sort of a medium coral color. It's a color Lego doesn't even make, and it's lovely. I think that all of what I see here is quaint. It's enjoyable, and all of what I see here is something I'd recommend. At the end of the day, this is under $5 for all of it. It's so hard to beat anything like this, and I cannot set my expectations high for something like this. This is under $5 worth of Lego bricks, over 100 pieces that I've shown in this video so far. And it's just good. They're good. They're enjoyable little sets to build, and I look forward to building more of these, maybe even on the channel. Of course, before I get to the mystery item, let me know your thoughts down in the comments about these items specifically. If you have experience with these brands, I'd like to know. Or if you have experience with other non-Lego brick brands, but specifically ones that you have found in local stores, whether they be big box stores, franchises like Dollar Tree or Five Below, or small like mom and pop stores out of the way, because I've actually seen some of that as well, where they've had like their own brands, clearly just, you know, private labeled, but interesting stuff nonetheless. And of course, you can also let me know your experience with knockoffs from online as well. But I want to get to this other item, because today when I was looking for that Eagle build specifically, I found something else interesting. I found this right here. You can see it is plugged in, and there's a reason for that. This is apparently a humidifier, and I was intrigued. Now, my mom uses humidifier, so like this is an interesting item. It's an item I'm familiar with. It's something that the technology on this is not terribly difficult to understand, but this is also really small. I've never really seen a humidifier this small, but I've definitely never seen a humidifier at this price. $1.25 for about a 7.5 ounce container, right? and then the electronics on top, right? It is also worth noting that it does come with this cable as well. It's only like a 20-inch cable, so nothing fancy going on there, but it doesn't come with a power brick or a power bank or anything like that. In this case, I'm just using a power bank so that I can use the original cable it came with. It's not a data cable either. You're not going to be able to transfer data with this, but at the very least, you can use it to power. That's fine, right? But I was surprised by this because I really thought this was going to be an example of you get what you pay for. And then I got it home, I filled it up, it told me wait 5 minutes, but I didn't even do that. I turned it on and immediately it worked. Now it does two things. It has modes. An intermittent mode where it turns on, sprays, and then goes off, and then turns back on, and sprays again, and then turns back off. You'll see we have an LED going the whole time to tell you that it is on, just changing through colors, nothing fancy going on there. And then it has a constant mode. And in this case, the water's just going to stay going as vapor, right? What I find so shocking about this is it's such a fine mist. I figured if this worked at all, it was going to be sputtering or noisy or messy, or it was going to smell like burning plastic or something like that, or the water was going to be hot, because I don't know what method this is using to vaporize the water. But it just works. It's a cold mist. It's quite refreshing, in fact. And it just works. It says on the box, now I've not tested this part yet, it says between 2.5 to 5 hours of runtime on this. I assume the 5 hours is if it's set to go constant, and the 2.5, sorry, flip that. I think the 2.5 hours is if it's constant, the 5 hours is if it's on intermittent, but you could test that yourself. I did not fill this all the way by any means, and it is worth noting too that I would not call this item waterproof. If I tip this, it will definitely spill out a little bit, but I definitely think you could definitely have something like this. I'm saying definitely a lot apparently, in like a car cup holder, or maybe you could take an item like this with you camping. And one thing I thought about, while this is definitely not something I'd recommend for with like a expensive humidifier, for an item like this that you could sort of just tinker with, play with, experiment with, doing something like this with like a citronella oil or a lemongrass oil or something that repels mosquitoes or whatever, repels insects, could this work for something like that? Because there are portable items kind of like this that do a similar thing, though they tend to rely on different methods for doing it. And I even have something like that, but it's like a $20 or $30 item, not $1.25. And in this case here, this is an item that's so cheap that if it did get damaged from the repeated use of citronella essential oil or lemongrass essential oil or whatever, verbena, etc., right? Something that repels insects, repels mosquitoes, and it got damaged by that over time, it's replaceable. And the electronics in this could be actually kind of interesting to tinker around with as well. There's plenty of room inside this device, assuming you take it apart and kind of know what you're doing, that you could probably even add a rechargeable circuit in here as well. This is not rechargeable. This is just connected directly to a power supply, in this case a power bank. But the circuitry itself is, and let me go ahead and turn it off for a moment, is just right here. That's it. Now the camera picks up the flickering of the LED. Your eyes are not going to pick that up by any means. And then the item will also tell you when it's out of liquid, at least from what I could tell, because when I tried it out of liquid, it would flash red. Whether or not that stays the case, I have no idea, or maybe that was just because it was new. It's hard to say, honestly. But the fact this just works, and it works so well, is honestly baffling to me. I left it running in the other room here in the living room a couple of hours ago, and I want to say I left it running for about an hour, maybe a little less. It's hard for me to say. And this has only used about maybe that much water. So I'm kind of surprised. I would not actually even be surprised if this lasted longer than 5 hours, and that was on full blast. $1.25. It also comes in 3 color choices. I just chose gray because it goes with everything, whatever. But they had a pink and they had a blue one as well. This is cute. This is something I would definitely recommend. Whether or not yours works as well as this one, I have no idea. I only have one. So a very, very small sample size. But it does what it's supposed to do. And it only asks of you one thing. Honestly, when I bought it too, I didn't even know it had 2 modes. That just works. Like, that's impressive. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. If you guys did enjoy the video, of course, be sure to subscribe. It helps out the channel tremendously. Also, let me know, like I said, your thoughts not only on, I'm going to pick up that box since it fell, not only on these items here, but also I am kind of curious now what other tinkery items that Dollar Tree has. I know that Dollar Tree has started to expand its merchandise to include much more expensive items, including even some items up there I've seen for $20, which I was alive when Deals was a thing, when Dollar Tree acquired them and started doing a similar thing with that, and it did not go over well. Maybe this is just a different time and it's going to work for them. I have no idea. But I would love to learn about interesting items like this little humidifier here, specifically $1.25 items that are interesting, let's say. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, once again, the Discord will be linked down there so you can check out things like these on here. We've got a whole channel dedicated specifically towards Lego knockoffs, including links on where you can buy specific ones that are for sale. I've got literally a video coming up here where I'm talking about some pieces I've designed around knockoffs, like this bird head here around one of my favorite armors from all of Bionicle's run, and that is a knockoff recolor there. I've got knockoff panel pieces that Lego's never even made on a grasshopper build that I really love. I'm happy about this. I've got plenty more videos to record, plenty more on the way. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.